There are a few things that I learned in my college courses that actually prepared me for life. Maybe this is true of you too. Much of my educational experience was more about what it took to make the grade and less about actually learning. But one thing that stuck with me for all of these years has come up over and over again. It's a triangle image created by psychologist Abraham Maslow. It's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. According to Maslow, human needs were arranged in a hierarchy with 5 levels, starting with physiological survival needs at the bottom, to be followed by safety, love and belonging, esteem, and the more creative and higher level thinking-oriented self-actualization needs at the top. These lower level basic needs were things like food, water, and shelter, things that we had to have met before we could be fulfilled. So when I first learned about this in ed psych class in my freshman year of college, the application was not lost on me. How could my students show up to learn in my class if they didn't have their basic needs met? Self-actualization is the realization of a person's full potential. It's found at the peak of this hierarchy, and it's thought of that this is the exception rather than the rule because most people are dealing with those lower level needs. But self-actualization isn't about being perfect or reaching your life goals. Instead, it's a particular state of mind that allows us to approach people and relationships with acceptance and understanding. I wanted to talk about this topic since I'm all about not settling for the life that we're given, but living the life of so much more. And so I got curious about what self-actualization is, and I want to share it with you today. According to Maslow, self-actualized people tend to have characteristics that allow them to achieve their fullest state of being. But since Maslow passed away in 1970, there's been some further research with some new developments. Here's what we know. Self-actualized people have peak experiences. They find themselves where they are in extreme cases of joy and wonder. They lose track of time. They feel like they're doing something really unique. They would even say they might be transformed. And when they have these moments of transcendence, they get insight into the world and into themselves. Self-actualized people also have a continuous sense of appreciation. Many of them have a gratitude practice. They see what's in front of them. They appreciate the beauty in the small things. And they continue to have that sense of awe and wonder that I spoke about. Next, self-actualization also involves acceptance. And it starts first by accepting ourselves, accepting us for who we are and who we have become, and not being the victim, but looking at the things that have happened in our lives as a way to learn lessons. It's also about accepting other people as they are and the journey that brought them there. Self-actualized people are also realistic. They see things as they are. They don't sugarcoat things, but they also see opportunities for advancement, ways that you can take things and maybe look at them in a different perspective. Self-actualized people are also problem-centered. You know, the thing is we have, as self-actualized people, if you consider yourself one of those, we have a way of just operating with personal ethics and integrity and a responsibility to the world. So when you look at someone else's problems, you know that if you can have a way to help them solve it, you want to be able to pitch in and help. Self-actualized people are also very independent. You know, they love having time where they can sit and think about things and think about how does this fit into the world? What is their place in the world? Which means they also have an appreciation for privacy. You know, having that time where you can work on things that need that silence, but also being able to embrace people when you're ready to go out and intermingle in the world. Self-actualized people have this little spark of spontaneity. They see something, they see an opportunity, and they weigh their options. Is this worth going to? And what will be the win if I do get involved? But one thing, which will come to no surprise to you if you are a regular listener of this podcast, is self-actualized people have a sense of purpose. They feel a mission or a calling of something they're here to do in the world. And it helps them feel this purpose really deeply and experience tremendous empathy for others. They also understand the value of being present. You know, it's not always about the destination. Sometimes it's about the journey to get there. There was a study done in 2018 of people who had categorized themselves as reaching the self-actualization point. And what the researchers found is actually there were many people that had moved on to beyond Maslow's hierarchy to seeing a self-transcendence. Self-transcendence is this state of going beyond. And what this transcendence is going beyond yourself, where you can see the place in the world, where you can also see the oneness and the connection with other people. So why is this happening now? Why since 2018 when we had this study? I think it's because we have three words that are very prevalent in our conversations. I've heard more and more about a rising consciousness or having a higher consciousness. And what this is this is the understanding that there is a separation from who you are as a human and the stories that are in your head. And just we go beyond our ability to have those five senses. I think this rising consciousness or the higher consciousness is also about self-awareness. Now, self-awareness is the second term. Self-awareness is understanding, again, that where you are and what you're doing and how you're coming across to other people, being self-aware of where you are, what you're thinking, what's getting in the way. What is that story you keep telling yourself? That is part of self-awareness. And self-awareness is also part of a third term, which is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence includes self-awareness, as well as motivation and empathy and a few other points. So how do you become self-actualized? 4 steps. First is be accepting. Understand that everyone has their own perspective and you have to accept people for where they are. Just because they're not where you are doesn't make them a bad person. That's bringing in some of the judgment and the ego and the need to feel safe. Second thing is we want to build empathy, right? How do you build empathy? You stand in the shoes of others. You understand what they must be going through. How do you make the local community better? How can you volunteer to help improve the world? And you do that through empathy. Also, it's about being open, looking at the world with a fresh perspective and approaching the world with an open mind. Learning when you may not understand why someone believes that way, cultivating that sense of curiosity. And while self-actualization is important, it's also important to understand that not everyone gets there with the same journey. Everyone has their own path of getting there. So what about you? Do you feel like you are settling? Are you happy with where you are? I invite you to consider the possibility to get quiet and be present, to be curious what may happen that you've never considered before. If this resonates with you, I invite you to consider about living a life of so much more. And if that resonates with you, I do have a So Much More newsletter, and I'll have the link in the show notes if you'd like to sign up for it. It gives tips and topics and thought-provoking ideas that will take you from where you are now to beyond where you think you could be. And if you're still interested in looking at how things could be different, I'd like you to consider what it would be like to reimagine your future self. I've been working on a resource that'll probably be ready around mid-September about how you can understand how to start on that path and what are the first steps to take. So if you're interested, reach out on this podcast. You can reach me on LinkedIn, send me a direct message. I'm also on Instagram. You can find me there. So my question to you is, if you found this helpful today, I would love it if you would leave a review or even be able to subscribe to the show so we can really boost this and get more people involved in this idea. All right. So thanks so much for being with me today. I hope you find this helpful. And until next week, I wish you a life of so much more on the way to discovering your legendary self. Thanks, everyone.